Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Wednesday, September 26, 2018. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's baseball games, look ahead to today's games. Then I'm going to do my 2008 NBA ReDraft. Then I'll reveal my top 100 players prior to the NHL season, which begins a week from today. All right. Baseball. Some interesting results yesterday. The Royals defeat the Reds 4-3. The Royals are 55-102. Cincinnati 66-92. Kevin McCarthy gets the win. Raciel Iglesias with the loss. Willie Peralta with the save. The Nats defeated the Marlins 9-4. The Nats are 80-78. The Marlins are 62-95. Max Scherzer gets the win. Jeff Brigham with the loss. The Astros defeat the Blue Jays 4-1. The Astros are 157, Toronto 71-87. Josh James with the win, Sam Gaviglio with the loss, Roberto Osuna with the save. The Yankees defeated the Rays 9-2. The Yanks are 97-60, Tampa's 87-70. Luis Severino gets the win despite struggling in the third inning. Jacob Faria gets the loss. The Braves defeat the Mets 7-3. The Braves are 89-68. The Mets are 73-84. Dan Winkler with the win. Roberto Gesellman with the loss. The White Sox defeat the Indians 5-4 on a 2-run walk-off single by Daniel Palka. The White Sox are 62-95. Cleveland 88-69. Ian Hamilton with the win. Carlos Carrasco with the loss. The Brewers defeat the Cardinals 12-4. Milwaukee 91-67, St. Louis 87-71. Taylor Williams with the win, Austin Gomber with the loss. Christian Yelich had a 6 RBI game. That all but nailed the MVP for him in the National League. The Pirates defeat the Cubs 6-0. The Pirates are 80-76, Chicago 91-66. Chris Archer with the win, Mike Montgomery with the loss. The Tigers defeat the Twins 4-2. The Tigers are 64-93, Minnesota 72-84. Victor Alcantara with the win, Trevor Hildenberger with the loss, Shane Green with the save. The Rockies defeat the Phillies 10-3. The Rocks are 87-70. The Phillies are 78-79. Wow, what a downfall for Philly. DJ Johnson with the win, Vince Velasquez with the loss. The Diamondbacks defeat the Dodgers 4-3 on a walk-off homer by Eduardo Escobar. Arizona 80-78, the Dodgers 88-70. Brad Boxberger with the win, Kenta Maeda with the loss. The Angels defeat the Rangers 4-1. The Angels are 77-81, Texas 66-91. Noe Ramirez with the win, Giovanni Gallardo with the loss. Hansel Robles with the save. The Mariners defeat the Athletics 10-8 in 11 innings on a walk-off home run by Chris Herman. Seattle 86-71. Oakland 95-63. Alex Colon with the win. Emilio Pagan with the loss. The Giants defeat the Padres 5-4 in 12 innings on a walk-off single by Madison Bumgarner. San Francisco 73-85. San Diego 63-95. Marc Melancon with the win. Rowan Wick with the loss. Today's games. 1 o'clock game 1 of a doubleheader. Orioles Red Sox. Ryan Messinger and David Price. 4 o'clock Marlins Nationals. Wayne Chen and Kyle McGowan. This could be Bryce Harper's final home game as a member of the Nats. Astros Blue Jays. Chris Davinsky and Sean Reid-Foley. So the Astros are going with the opener now. Royals Reds at 6:40. Heath Fillmyer and Cody Reed. 7 o'clock on ESPN, the Brewers and the Cardinals. Julius Chassin and John Gant. This is a must-win for the Cardinals. They're under a lot of pressure. They got to get back within 3 of the Cardinals. They got to get ahead of the Rockies because the Rockies have an easy schedule, or at least stay within a game of or a half game of the Rockies. So give me St. Louis to salvage this game. Braves Mets. Sean Newcomb and Jacob deGrom. Yankees Rays. Masahiro Tanaka and Ryan Stanek. Game 2 between the Orioles and the Red Sox. Baltimore hasn't decided yet, and Chris Sale's going for Boston. 8 o'clock, Pirates Cubs. Ivan Nova and Jose Quintana. Indians White Sox. Shane Bieber and Jace Fry. Tigers Twins. Matt Boyd and Jake Odorizzi. 8:40 Phillies Rockies. Nick Pivetta and German Marquez. 9:30 ESPN will probably join in progress after Cardinals and the Brewers. You have the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. Ross Stripling and Zach Greinke. Rough loss for the Dodgers last night. I'm going to say they bounce back and get the win tonight. Rangers Angels at 10 o'clock. Yohander Mendez and Andrew Heaney. A's Mariners. Edwin Jackson and Felix Hernandez. And 10:15 Padres Giants. Luis Perdomo and Casey Kelly. Standings recap real quick. All the American League spots are clinched. We just need to determine who's hosting the wild card game. Yankees' magic number to clinch that is 2. A win for them today and an Oakland loss guarantees them the home field advantage for the wild card game. National League. You have only one team clinched so far, and that's the Braves, who won the National League East. The Brewers and the Cubs are tied in the win column. The Cubs are 1 game ahead in the loss column. Cardinals are 4 back of the Brewers for the first wild card spot, and a half game back of the Rockies for the second wild card spot. And the Rockies are tied in the loss column with the Dodgers for first in that division. So, should be very interesting. The Rockies have an easy schedule. They have the Phillies, then the Nationals, both at home. St. Louis has this Brewers game, and then they have the Cubs at Wrigley Field. So, if I had to guess who makes it, it's probably Colorado because of the schedule. But we'll see if the Nats get up for that Rocky series. Bryce Harper is going to be playing in his final games as a member of the Washington Nationals in all likelihood. And then you have, on the flip side, Cardinals going to Wrigley Field. The Cubs are still playing for that division. They have not even locked down a playoff spot, let alone that division yet, which is astounding to me. But I believe their magic number's 1. I think the Brewers' magic number's 1 as well, with the Cardinal loss yesterday. The Cardinal loss today, I think, clinches Cubs and Brewers in. But the Cubs are going to be playing for that division. But I don't see the Cards giving up. So it should be a fun weekend. We'll get more into this as the rest of the week folds out. And although the Dodgers certainly made it interesting from the West standpoint by losing to the Diamondbacks yesterday, got to give the Diamondbacks credit for getting that win and making things interesting for the Dodgers. And on the flip side, the Mariners get the win, the walk-off win, to make things a little bit more comfortable for the Yankees as they look to host the wild card game. Now I'm going to do my 2008 NBA redraft. This was a fun exercise to do. Number 1, the Chicago Bulls, Russell Westbrook. I think this was the best guy in this draft. Now looking back, Derrick Rose had a bunch of knee injuries and whatnot. But the question is Russell Westbrook spend his whole career in Chicago? Number 2, the Miami Heat, Kevin Love, who's had a pretty good career. His peak dates were with the Timberwolves. He hasn't really been the same player ever since he got traded from the Wolves to the Cavs. Let's see if he becomes the Minnesota Kevin Love without LeBron James. I'm going to say probably not. 3, to Memphis Grizzlies, DeAndre Jordan. Clippers got a steal with him in the second round. He was a great Clipper in his prime, made a few All-Star games. Now he's going to be on the Dallas Mavericks. The Oklahoma City Thunder, Derrick Rose. He had a great career until he blew out his knee, and he was never the same player after that. Maybe history in the NBA has changed if he was to stay healthy. 5, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Goran Dragic. who's a pretty solid point guard for the Miami Heat right now. Would have been a nice piece for the Timberwolves. Maybe he would have been traded. 6, the Knicks, Eric Gordon. Maybe he would have been on those teams with Amari Stoudemire, Carmelo Anthony, and all those people. But Gordon ended up getting hurt a lot on the Clippers, and Clippers traded him in the Chris Paul deal to New Orleans. Speaking of the Clippers, they're number 7, Brook Lopez. Someone who's had a nice career, made one All-Star team when he was on the Nets. And he got traded to the Lakers. And then he signed with the Bucks as a free agent. 8, speaking of the Bucks, Robin Lopez, who bounced around throughout his career. Solid starting center. 9, the Charlotte Hornets, Roy Hibbert. Someone who had a good career until 2014, where the tails came off when Indiana's season fell apart in 2014. And really his season more than Indiana's fell apart. And never really recovered from that. Was bounced around a little bit. I remember Indiana, I think they let him go to Charlotte, ironically enough. And then he went to the Lakers. Although I remember he did bounce around a little bit. 10, the Brooklyn Nets, Serge Ibaka. Very good power forward in this league. Was great on Oklahoma City. Then they traded him to Orlando to clear cap room. And then he was traded to Toronto and ended up re-signing there. 10, the Portland Trailblazers, Nick Batum. That's ironic because Batum spent a lot of his career in Portland. Then he signed the big free agent deal in Charlotte after he was traded from Portland to Charlotte. 12, the Sacramento Kings, Courtney Lee. Pretty good player in the league. Right now he's playing on the Knicks, but I do not think he'll finish the season with New York. 13, the Indiana Pacers, George Hill. That's ironic because the Spurs drafted him and then traded him to Indiana in 2011, the deal that landed the draft pick rights to Kawhi Leonard. And then Hill left Indiana, or he was traded to Utah. And then Hill went to Sacramento, signed there as a free agent. They went to Cleveland. So yeah, George Hill bounced around a lot. Solid point guard. 14, the Golden State Warriors, Ryan Anderson. He probably would have been on those early Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson teams, but not the one right now. If he was on the one right now, then he'd be on the bench. 15, the Phoenix Suns, Omer Asik had a really good career. Went from Houston, well, before Houston was Chicago. Then Houston signed him. And then Houston traded him because things didn't work out with him and Dwight Howard there. 16, the Philadelphia 76ers, Danilo Gallinari. Unfortunate what happened to him. Good player on the Knicks and the Nuggets, and then he kept getting hurt a lot, and then now he's on the Clippers with that onerous contract. 17, the Indiana Pacers, Lukumba Mute, somebody who bounced around a lot in the league, solid role player right now for the Rockets, and then he left there. They'll miss his contributions on defense. I remember he was on the Clippers. It was good for them as well. 18, the Washington Wizards, Mario Chalmers. Solid point guard. He was a good starter on those Heat championship teams those few years. 19, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Terrell Arthur. Solid role players, bounced around a lot. Hornets at 20, Costa Koufos, the big man, who's bounced around a lot as well. I believe he's on the Kings right now. 21, the Brooklyn Nets, Jerry Bayless. Right now on Philly. Who was a good player on the Grizzlies. 22, the Orlando Magic, Nikola Pekovic. Was a great offensive center on the Minnesota Timberwolves. He could have backed up Dwight Howard, and then after Howard was traded, he could have been their starting center. 23, the Utah Jazz, Michael Beasley, somebody that didn't live up to the number 2 overall pick. He was on the Heat, and then he was on the Timberwolves. He's bounced around a lot. I believe he was on Sacramento. Now he's on the Lakers. 22, the Oklahoma City Thunder, JaVale McGee. Solid big man. He's bounced around a little bit too. 25, the Houston Rockets. Timothy Mozgov. Someone who the Lakers signed to that owner's contract that they eventually had to trade away with D'Angelo Russell to Brooklyn. 26, the San Antonio Spurs. Maurice Speets. Solid bench guy. Big man. Was a big help on those Warriors teams within the last few years. 27, the Memphis Grizzlies. DJ Augustine. Good backup point guard, but he's not a good starting point guard. 28, the Houston Rockets. Anthony Morrow. Good sharpshooter, three-pointer specialist. 29, Oklahoma City Thunder. Jason Thompson. He was a solid role player. Didn't live up to his draft stock. And the guy that I have 30 on this list with the Celtics, O.J. Mayo, who was the 3rd overall pick, didn't live up to those expectations either with Memphis, and he was traded a bunch of times as well. Now I'm going to do my top 100 NHL players prior to the season. I'm going to go from 100 to 1. Number 100, Corey Schneider, the goalie of the Devils. I think this guy is overlooked. He was hurt most of last year and really missed out on the Devils' year last year. And he came back in the playoffs. I thought he was okay in the playoffs, but I think he's very overlooked, and he'll steal some games for them this year as they look to repeat their good year from last year. 99 is Marc-Andre Flurry from the Golden Knights. He's their goalie. He was traded from Pittsburgh to there. He was picked up in the expansion draft. He was phenomenal last year. He was a big part of their Stanley Cup run. 98 is Jake Allen of the Blues. A very underrated goalie in my mind, who's actually hurt right now. If he's healthy, then I think the Blues can actually do some damage in the Western Conference. 97 is Carey Price of the Canadiens. This is just out of respect. I don't think he's the same goalie as he used to be. I think the Canadiens are a team that is not going to be very good this year, and that could come into effect with Price. 96 is Aaron Ekblad of the Panthers. Very good defenseman. I have a feeling that he's going to break out this year. 95 is Oliver Ekman Larsen of the Coyotes, a very good defenseman. Somebody that the Coyotes chose to keep as they continue their little rebuild. 94 is Cam Fowler of the Ducks. Somebody who's a very good player on that defense, probably their best defensive player. 93 is Jake Gardiner of the Maple Leafs. Someone who I really think is under some pressure this year because the Maple Leafs defense isn't great. 92 is Marc Giordano of the Flames, somebody that I think has been underrated the past few years. He's getting up there in age, though. 91 is Dougie Hamilton of the Hurricanes. I think he's going to have a good year in Carolina. I think he'll be motivated. 90 is Dustin Byfuglien of the Jets, somebody who had a good year last year as the leader of that defense. 89 is Matthew Dumba of the Wild, somebody who I think could have a breakthrough year this year. 88 is Morgan Riley of the Maple Leafs, their best defensive player, their best defenseman. I think he's primed for a big year. 87 is Jonathan Marchessault of the Golden Knights. Will he repeat the success he had last year? Time will tell. 86 is the Minnesota Wild's Devin Dubnyk, who I think is one of the more underrated goalies in the league. I remember when he first came on the scene, he was phenomenal. I'm a fan. 85 is Matt Murray of the Penguins, 2-time Stanley Cup champion. 84, John Gibson of the Ducks, somebody who I think is very underrated and a big key to the Ducks' success over the last few years. 83 is Wayne Simmons of the Flyers. I think he's awesome. Top 6 guy on their team. 82 is Anders Lee of the Islanders. Somebody that I think is under a little pressure this year to succeed because of the departure of John Tavares. 81 is Mikael Granlund of the Wild. Very underrated player on that team. 80 is Tyson Barrie of the Avalanche, who was a points machine a year ago. 79 is John Klingberg of the Stars. Points machine for the Stars defenseman as well. 78 is Chris Letang of the Penguins. He's by far their best defenseman. 77 is Torrey Krug of the Bruins. Had a great year last year, put up a ton of points. 76 is Ryan Suter of the Minnesota Wild. He's the leader of that defense. 75 is Max Pacioretty of the Vegas Golden Knights. I think he'll have a good year, finally being out of Montreal. 74 is Ryan O'Reilly of the St. Louis Blues. Trade acquisition from the Buffalo Sabres. I think he's primed for a good year. 73 is Nikolaj Ehlers of the Winnipeg Jets, and 72 is Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets. I think both of these guys are going to have good seasons. 71 is James Van Riemsdyk of the Flyers. He was their big free agent signing. He actually started out as a Flyer, bounced around a little bit, and now he's back with Philly. 70 is TJ Oshie of the Capitals, somebody who's been great ever since being traded from the Blues to the Caps. 69 is Corey Perry of the Ducks, somebody that's just out of respect. I think that he's a player that's sort of in decline, but still puts up some points. 68 is Logan Couture of the Sharks. I think he's primed for a big year. 67 is Brayden Point of the Lightning. He had a breakout year a year ago. Will he replicate it? I think he'll come darn close. 66 is Brayden Schenn of the Blues. He was traded to St. Louis last year. He had a good year. I think he's going to have another good year. 65 is David Pasternak of the Bruins. Getting better and better every year. 64 is Cam Atkinson of the Blue Jackets. Didn't have that great of a year last year. I think he's going to have a better year this year. 63 is Victor Evgeniy of the Predators, somebody that's improving each and every year. 62 is Jaden Schwartz of the Blues, somebody who I think is underrated on that team. 61, Brock Boeser of the Vancouver Canucks. Was a candidate for the Calder Trophy a year ago. I think he can have another breakthrough this year. 60 is William Nylander of the Maple Leafs. I think with John Tavares there now and Austin Matthews, another year of maturity. I think Nylander is primed for a big year. 59 is John Carlson of the Capitals, just got paid coming off a career year. 58, Alex Pietrangelo of the Blues. I think an underrated defenseman in the league. He's their team captain. 57 is Shane Gostisbehere of the Flyers, a points machine. 56, William Karlsson of the Golden Knights. Last year was probably a career year for him, but I still think he's a very good player. 55 is Ryan Getzlaf of the Ducks, like Corey Perry. He's somebody I think is trending downwards, but still is a very good player. And same with guy 54 on this list, and that's Jonathan Taves of the Blackhawks. I just don't think he's the same player as he used to be. 53, Vincent Trotec of the Florida Panthers. This guy, I think the arrow is trending upward. He's going to have a good season. 52, Matthew Barzal of the Islanders, the reigning Calder Trophy winner. I think he's primed for a big year, and he needs a big year to offset the loss of John Tavares. 51 is Evgeniy Malkin of the Penguins. He had a phenomenal year a year ago. But Malkin to me always seems like he gets hurt. But if he's healthy a full season like he was a year ago, he'll put up big numbers. 50 is Sean Couturier of the Flyers. He had a career year last year. I think he builds on that. 49 is Pierre-Luc Dubois of the Columbus Blue Jackets. This guy, I think, will be a big breakout star this season. 48 is Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers. Somebody that I think is going to have a good year this year. 47 is Joe Pavelski of the San Jose Sharks. Up there in age, but still getting the job done. 46 is Martin Jones of the Sharks, somebody who I think is primed for a big year. 45 is Braden Holtby of the Washington Capitals. He had a mediocre regular season last year and was benched to start the playoffs for Philip Garbauer, but was great the rest of the way in the playoffs, helping the Capitals to win the Stanley Cup. 44 is Connor Hellebuck of the Jets. I think this is your breakout goalie of the year. 43 is Gabriel Landeskog of the Avalanche. Had a great year last year. Does he replicate it? We'll see. 42 is Johnny Gaudreau of the Calgary Flames. He's still young, and he's only going to get better. 41 is Jonathan Huberdeau of the Panthers. He had a great year last year. I think he's going to have another good year. 40 is Mikko Rantanen of the Avalanche. This guy's a stud, and he's only going to get better. 39 is Brad Marchand of the Bruins, the leader of that team. I think he's poised for a good year. 38 is Jacob Voracek of the Philadelphia Flyers. He had a great year last year, and I think he's going to have a good year again this year. 37 is Phil Kessel of the Penguins. He had a phenomenal year this past year. I think this year he's primed for another good year as well. 36 is Mitch Marner of the Maple Leafs, like William Nylander, with the presence of Tavares and the expected growth of Austin Matthews. Marner's poised for a monster statistical season. 35 is Andrei Vasilevsky of the Lightning. Was a Vezina candidate last year. I think he has a chance to win it this year. 34 is Pekka Rinne of the Predators. Also a Vezina candidate last year. Wasn't that great in the playoffs, though. 33 is Sergei Bobrovsky of the Blue Jackets. Vezina finalist the last few years. I think he's poised for a huge season in a contract year. 32 is Seth Jones of the Blue Jackets. This guy, I think, is primed for a big season, too. And I think this is the year that'll show who won that trade between the Predators and the Blue Jackets. I think the Blue Jackets are in good shape, although I like Johansson as well. 31, PK Subban of the Predators. And 30 is Roman Josi of the Predators. Both of these guys are the leaders of that defense in Nashville. Josi's their captain. Subban was a Norris finalist last year. 29 is Evgeny Kuznetsov of the Capitals. This guy's arrow is trending up. And I think he's poised for another big year this year. 28, Jack Eichel, Sabres. I think he's poised for a breakout this year. And he'll finally look like a guy that was picked number 2 overall rather than getting hurt a lot. 27, Patrice Bergeron of the Bruins. Somebody who had a great year last year. I think he's poised for a good year again this year. 26, Erik Karlsson of the Sharks. 25, Brett Burns of the Sharks. These two guys are going to be the leaders of that defense. I think they're poised for monster years. 24, Tyler Seguin of the Stars. He was just got a contract extension that was well-deserved. I think he's making the Bruins look foolish by the day because they traded him to Dallas. 23 is Alexander Barkov of the Panthers. He's poised for a big season. He was hurt a lot last year. Cost the Panthers a playoff spot, perhaps. But I think Barkov's going to have a great year. 22, Nicklas Backstrom of the Capitals. I think this guy is very underrated and puts up a bunch of points every year and it just gets overlooked, it seems like. 21, Blake Wheeler of the Winnipeg Jets. I think he's primed for another big season. 20, Philip Forsberg of the Predators. I think he's poised for his best season yet. 19, Patrick Laine of the Jets. I think he's primed for a very big year. 18, Nikita Kucherov had a career year a year ago. Does he replicate it? We'll see. 17, Jamie Benn, Dallas Stars. He's their best player. I think he'll have another great year. 16, Taylor Hall, New Jersey Devils. Will he replicate that Hart Trophy performance? Time will tell, but this guy is a really good player. He's just a late bloomer. 15, Artemi Panarin, Blue Jackets. This guy's in a contract year. I believe he'll have a huge season, and I think he'll finish the season as a member of the Blue Jackets because I think they're going to be a good team. 14, Mark Sheffley of the Winnipeg Jets. Had a great year last year. I think he'll have a great year this year. 13, Nathan MacKinnon of the Avalanche had his best season last year. I think he replicates part of that because I think the Avalanche are a good team and MacKinnon has great pieces around them. 12, Anze Kopitar of the Kings. He had a phenomenal year last year. Getting up there in age a little bit, but he still has it. Good two-way player. 11, John Tavares of the Maple Leafs. Ooh, that's weird saying that. I think he's primed for a big year, the first year in that contract. Wouldn't rule out a slow start for him, but I think he'll have a good year. Number 10, Austin Matthews of the Maple Leafs. I think he has a chance to win the Hart Trophy this year. I think this guy is special. Number 9, Steven Stamkos of the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's had a lot of injury problems the last few years. I think he's primed for a big season this year. 8, Drew Doughty of the Los Angeles Kings. He had a phenomenal year last year. I think he's going to have another great year this year. He's certainly a candidate to win the Norris. 7, Victor Hedman, Tampa Bay Lightning. I think this is the best defenseman in all the league. He is certainly going to be up there to win the Norris Trophy too. 6, Vladimir Tarasenko of the Blues. I think this is a candidate to win the Hart Trophy this year. He was my pick to win it last year, but he didn't win it, and the Blues didn't make the playoffs. I think Tarasenko's poised for a big year. 5, Claude Giroux of the Flyers. He, I think, probably should have won the Hart Trophy a year ago, but Taylor Hall deserved it because he pretty much single-handedly took the Devils to the playoffs last year. But Giroux, I think, is poised for a great year. 4, Patrick Kane of the Blackhawks. I think he's poised for a great year, too, especially because the Blackhawks, I feel like, want to bounce back and try to make the postseason. 3, Alex Ovechkin of the Capitals. Finally a Stanley Cup champion. This guy, I think, is poised for another near 50-goal season. 2, Sidney Crosby of the Penguins. He's still a phenomenal player, the best player in the Eastern Conference. Still the leader of that Penguins team. 2 cups in the last 3 years. And number 1, Connor McDavid, Edmonton Oilers. This guy's the best player in the world. It's terrible that he's on a bad team. But who knows, maybe McDavid will single-handedly take them to the playoffs like Taylor Hall did with the Devils a year ago. And Edmonton has a lot of talent, but they just haven't really put it all together other than 2 years ago. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping all the baseball games and looking ahead to tomorrow's games. I'll be doing my NHL power rankings before the start of the season. I'll be evaluating each team's top 10 prospects in baseball and what kind of years they've had. And I'll also be doing my picks for the football games being played tomorrow, as well as my college football Week 5 bowl projections. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.